Hello, fabulous community. It's Anita Parker here from Wisdom, Wealth, Wellbeing, and I have the fabulous Dr. Tracy Lutz here with me today. And Dr. Lutz is going to be speaking at the Thrive Women's Health Summit on April the 12th at 50th Parallel Estate Winery in support of KGH Foundation. And you are going to be on a hot topic. So tell everybody a little bit about you and what you're going to be sharing about for this event.
Thank you, Anita. I am so excited to join everyone that's going to be at this event. A little bit about myself, South African born and bred, been a physician for 20 years. And I can tell you in the last few years, got a little out of the rat race and kind of reinvented myself as a, should we say middle-aged woman? I think we're technically in the middle age, in our 40s, right? This isn't old anymore. This is middle-aged. As a middle-aged woman, found this new passion in women's health. And part of women's health that nobody talks about, at least not in Canada very much, is topics like sexual health and topics like cosmetic gynecology. And this is not where we're talking about how your yoni feels, and we're not going to bring in any of that tantric stuff. We're going to go down to the nitty-gritties of what is happening to us and what's changing and what I can offer, whether it be support-wise, hormonal-wise, surgery-wise, with this larger topic.
I love this. So, this isn't something that women speak freely about. And one of the big passions for me in the purpose I'm doing in my work is to bring topics like this that are kind of, you keep quiet. Hush. Yeah. You live like, even for women in hormone, myself, perfect.
Myself too.
Examples, right? And it's just like, oh, we don't talk about it. We just kind of deal with it. And there's almost like this shame piece in some things.
Definitely.
So when I met with you the first time and you were telling me all these things that you do, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to make this so that it's safe to talk about these things so women don't feel shame. So let's talk a little bit first about, I guess, when you started your passion with, hey, I'm going to go down this road, what was like that really nudging piece for you of like, I want to do this because?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it also goes down to probably my own personal journey. I'm here, I'm in my perimenopause. At that point also starting a new relationship. So we do know many of our friends are in stages of their life where they may have separated, they may be starting new relationships. And in our 20s, we didn't really necessarily speak of our sexual health. We didn't worry what anything looked like. There was necessarily no shame always attached to it. Right. And then as we've gotten older, life has changed. Many women have had children, and suddenly they lose the love for their body, or they lose they lose that emotion where they feel comfortable in who they are. And it's not just because they're so busy and the kids are running them ragged. And what I really did find in this exploration over the last 5 years is that the men in our lives, whether they be active partners now, future partners, are really so supportive. They are. We think that they're not. We think that they're not happy with what they have. It's really us who isn't happy. It's us who feels disconnected, and getting that power back to the woman will make them feel whole.
100%. I love that you said that. It's the storytelling that we do of like, oh, but and you go down a rabbit hole and none of it's factual. You have no proof, no data. You've created this huge story.
You definitely don't listen. Even when the partner says they're happy or you're fine or it's beautiful, there's still that self-doubt.
There's that self-doubt. And listen, most people want to feel good and confident in their skin, right? Just like people go and work out. They do that because they want to look and feel better. They want their health to improve. And it helps improve them mentally and physically. And this is just one of those things as well, where women can feel, whether their partner is a man or a woman, they want to feel comfortable. They want to feel safe because it's very vulnerable being naked. Let's just be honest.
And some of it even comes down to, we talk about being with partners and our confidence. I have patients, and whether or not they had a partner. So we can even talk about women who don't have a partner. They may not be interested sexually, but there are components of cosmetic gynecology that women don't realize, where their labia are so much larger naturally, and it irritates them. How do you wear spandex when you have large? It would be like having a large piece hanging out your arm. How do you comfortably put that in a sweater? And how do you ride a bike, or how do you feel comfortable in your bathing suit? It isn't even all about sex.
Right.
Sorry, are we allowed to say that?
100%. I mean, we're talking
some
about...
of it is simply comfort. It's living a full life and not having to change everything about yourself because there's this component that is so uncomfortable.
Yeah. And again, it's removing the shame and bringing in the confidence and having these conversations and making it normal conversations. Like you're using, can I use that word? Or even like, talking about the labia. Like these are like, we talk about our feet, we talk about our hands, we talk about, like, we need to normalize this so women can, I was so excited when I came to see you. I'm like, let's go. I'm booking I think I booked my appointment right after you and I had coffee. Because it's like, it is very powerful to feel safe and confident in your skin.
Yeah. And, there's a double-edged sword to all of this. So some of this, when I use the broader topic, sexual health and cosmetic gynecology, like I said, I'm not going to give you some sex guru talk about your yoni and, all these things. And some people may like that, but the bulk of the population, or the bulk of us females, feel quite uncomfortable with these topics. Like, it is, why can I not just call it my vagina or my libido or, how I feel? Why do I have to name it? Like, it almost makes it feel kind of a little bit more weird. Men aren't talking about their whatever you want to call it. They speak of their penis, right? Yes. And so when we look at confidence, there is also this component of sexual health. And it's not just, do I have a libido or not, right? So this is where, if we're looking at women of all ages, so this may be a 20, tends to be more common in the middle ages. Again, I use the term middle ages. So this is where it ties in very well with the remainder of the whole day's event of women's health, in that, your hormones need to be well balanced, but you also need to understand how sexual health works. It's very different in women and in men.
Yes.
And we don't have spontaneous desire as women as much as we think we might. It isn't something that's there except for something new. The new handbag gave me spontaneous enjoyment, right?
Love that.
The new relationship will give you spontaneous desire for a few weeks or a few months. But because we have fluctuating hormones and because we have multiple other responsibilities in life, our libido, our desire is very different to men. And when we understand it, we can stop feeling so bogged down, feeling so guilty, feeling like we're broken.
Yeah, inadequate, right? When that's not what's going on. There's a whole other science, which, we'll have one of the other doctors talk about this, behind it. So I love that. So will you be touching on libido as well?
I will definitely. So I'm gonna talk about two concepts, and I'm gonna try and only give you guys a little teaser while we're here today. One component is going to be sexual health, and really just trying to remind women how the sexual health is not a singular component, and different aspects that you may or may not have realized about yourself, and then just very small kind of little tidbits of how to work with it and reflecting it yourself in a comfortable way that you can then go, I'm going to address these components and see if they change, right? And you're going to merge that with potentially considering whether, after listening to the hormone talk, whether you might need some hormones to add to that. So we'll definitely be doing that. The second component I'm going to talk about will be the cosmetic gynecology, which again is the part that is really more hush-hush taboo. I mean, I remember telling my mom, 2 or 3 years ago that I'm changing from an emergency doctor, an urgent care doctor to, this field. And she's like, why would you do that? Like, what? Like, who does that? And I can tell you most of my training, just got back from Florida last week, was in Istanbul last year for ESAG, was in London the year before that. There are very few or no Canadians at these large events where the world leaders of cosmetic gynecology are attending. And this really made me see the deficit in it in BC, in Canada. The rest of the world, very open. This is spoken about. The women are very even in cultures that we would not assume you would talk about this, these surgeries, these procedures, these sexual health treatments are being done because they're very conscious that they want to maintain that component of themselves.
Isn't that beautiful to have space to be able to talk about things? And thank you. I'm excited for you to share all your wisdom and knowledge at the event. And where can people find you actually on socials?
On social media, yep. I have a couple of different spots, and I do have a couple of different clinics I work at. My main clinic that I do a lot of my, my other hormone care in that, Omnia Medical, catering mostly for online. That's, out of the North. Most of my patients came out of the North originally because I was based in Prince George for 10 years, newer to Kelowna. When I'm doing my surgeries, when I'm doing my sexual health consults, I'm at a clinic locally where we do that. So that's on Richter. That's at the Ageless Living Clinic.
Okay.
And when you do, when I do procedures or surgery, they're all done in office. They're all local anesthetic. So nobody has to be fearful of a general anesthetic, being knocked out or anything like that. I actually joke and I say, bring some snacks, bring your headphones, but I'm probably going to be chatting with you the whole way through, as I'm like giddy as a kid and like, oh, you got to see this. And like, I'm
You're
this
excited.
now, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it usually ends up being quite relaxed. And, and then obviously you can see me on the Wisdom, Wealth, and Wellbeing, where you guys are advertising as well for the event.
Yes.
I've been tagged in there so people can find me on that as well.
Amazing. Well, friends, April 12th, ticket sales are closing next Friday, by the way. So you want to grab your tickets. We are about 70% sold out. I think there's maybe a handful of VIP tickets left. You can go to wisdomwealthwellbeing.com to buy your tickets. You can also find the event, the Thrive Women's Health Summit, on Eventbrite. And we cannot wait to welcome you. It's going to be a day of tons of fun, amazing connection, awesome education, and we are going to teach you how to advocate for your health and well-being. Thank you, Dr. Tracy Lutz.
Thank you so much for having me here today, and can't wait to see you ladies. We will be getting a little hot and heavy on the day, so make sure you bring a little fan. I mean, most of us have the hot flushes anyway. But yeah, we'll be talking more. We'll be talking more in depth. You may need a little sip of water occasionally if you feel like you're getting a little flushed. But it's going to be informative, and you're going to feel empowered when you leave.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, have a beautiful day.